Hey, we're Amber Run, and you're watching Radio Addict Media.
Yeah, the reception's been incredible, to be honest. It's quite scary how quickly people pick up on these kind of things. Playing some of the songs and people already know the lyrics. That's the best you can really hope for when you're playing a live show, and so it's just incredible.
Naming records is actually, I've always found, I think we've found it was quite difficult, because just choosing a singular kind of title to go across kind of the entirety of kind of a moment or like a period of when you've been making music is quite difficult. But in comparison to the first one, I think this one fits. Like, you know, we were having a really difficult time for a long time. We weren't enjoying what we were doing, and you know, music became a genuine chore rather than an exciting opportunity. And so I think the title really shows that kind of, you know, that we were for a moment kind of in a bad place, and then the fact that for a moment was there kind of, you know, rightly so, shows you that, you know, we've moved into a new place.
Quite an optimistic title. We didn't want it to be like
doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, there was one very specific moment, I think, for most of us where it made the most sense that if we were to call it quits, it would have been, and it was when Felix left the band and he told all of us, and you just thought, if there ever was like a get out clause, like the time for all of us to go, actually let's pack it in, that was it. And I think we all, like, the thought crossed all of our minds, but the fact that all of us turned around and were like, absolutely not, like let's carry on doing it, that was actually like a rallying cry for all of us, and that really spurred us on to make the record. So.
Well, I don't think we were under any pressure at all. It was kind of, I think we went through a phase of trying to write a specific kind of song, like a sort of radio-friendly poppy song, and we kind of laboured at that for a few weeks, and I think we just all got a bit depressed by the whole experience, because it is just, none of us were really excited by it. It felt like we were writing for someone else rather than ourselves. I think the moment we decided, actually, let's just write what we write, I think naturally we'd grown as people and musicians that it sounded different enough, but it was still kind of the same people making the music, so it was a progression rather than like a 180 or anything like that. So actually there was no pressure, it was relatively easy actually.
And, you know, there was no like financial pressure really, there was no kind of label pressure or any industry pressure, but the only pressure that would have been would have been us putting it on ourselves, because, you know, it's really important that we're our biggest critics. Otherwise, you won't stop challenging yourself to become better at playing in a band. You won't challenge yourself to write better music. And as soon as bands stop challenging themselves and keep like regurgitating the same old like drivel, you know, the fans are gonna not want to come to shows. And I think it's important for artists like ourselves who are slightly out of the pop kind of world, that we do try and challenge the people that listen to our music, because not everything is easy, and not everything is kind of like buoys in the club. There's other shit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you'd have felt depression or anxiety or any kind of like mental health thing before, you'd know that it isn't just a single straight line. It's not like, oh well, I feel rubbish today. It is, you're up and you're down and you're flying all over the place, and you feel one thing about one thing, and then like someone says one tiny little thing and it suddenly like flips the whole bloody world around. And so I think it's really important, well it was important and cathartic to be able to write music in specific moments about the same subject matter. And it was interesting that, you know, you can see that it's not all sparse and like tiny in a room, and sometimes there is other stuff as well. There's always that you know, but there's always that hint at something a little bit darker, like that little kind of just, yeah.
I Joe alluded to it. It's not really something that we went in deliberately doing. It was just a consequence of making music how we felt. Some of the songs are going to be angry, and like mental health doesn't have to necessarily always be you crying in a room. You can be, you know, really angry at things, and so it wasn't so much a deliberate attempt to vary the album for that reason. It was just how it happened.
What I think was interesting about those two is that White Lie we wrote around the same kind of time as Haze, and initially the lyric was, rather than I don't want to be anything else, it was like I wish I was someone else. And then we went into kind of pre-production for the album. We were in a kind of different mental state, so we ended up changing the lyrics so it kind of had a different message to it. So rather than it being like, oh, I'm really miserable, it was actually like a kind of a later stage and being like, actually it's a song that's sort of about, you know, yeah, I'm miserable, but it's like I'm kind of
Content
with
it.
it.
But genuinely, that song was brutal. It was brutal. I'm a loser, I'm a failure, and I wish I was someone else. Bloody hell. No thanks.
I don't think there's a stigma actually. What I found quite interesting is that there's a lot of, especially in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of sort of publicity about it, because it's I think it's a difficult career to be in, and as well, you know, everyone who makes music is naturally creative, and I think creative people are much more inclined to feel that way. I also think the stuff like, you know, touring is great fun, but it's kind of a huge strain, because it's sort of, you go from hours of sitting around doing nothing in a room to kind of walking on stage and like adulation and coming on stage feeling amazing and then crashing again. And it's like, you know, up and down, up and down. But I've noticed that there's a lot of publications and a lot of people are speaking out about it and kind of like increasing awareness for it, which I think is really positive, because I think there's an expectation, you see it even with just friends that you talk to, that people think that, you know, you're living like the life and that it's amazing, but it's, on the one hand, there's so many ups and downs, and on the other hand as well, it's like we care more about the band than anyone else does, and it's kind of like if you work for a company and you're not doing well at work, it's like, okay, you might not enjoy your job, but at least it's not like your precious thing, whereas this is to us. So it's, if there's ever any obstacles, we always take it a lot harder, and I think that's kind of where a lot of it comes from.
And you know, it is relatively interesting being in a band and some of these mental health issues. We've got an outlet to talk about it. So therefore, I think that we all kind of almost have a moral obligation to put it out in the world, because other people don't have that kind of opportunity.
It is a lot better. It's a lot closer sort of community of people working with you. So you say, oh, we need this done by tomorrow or something, and it's done not by tomorrow, it's done by the afternoon, you know. And it's crazy how all those little things can add up. Like just something that simple, you don't get it tomorrow, you don't get it the next day, you get it today. That speeds up the whole thing, it makes the whole thing so much slicker. And so,
sorry.
You go.
I was just going to say there's also kind of, the main difference is that we were never really under pressure on RCA, but there is a sort of pressure, there's this kind of expectation of, you know, on a major label you need to be, because they're spending so much money, you need to be making a lot of money, and making a lot of money comes from commercial success, and commercial success comes from writing commercial music. And so it kind of is implied in all that, whereas being on the label on now, there's not really like, they're not sitting there going, we need you to be getting a #1 album, selling this many records, because we've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds, we need to make it back. It's like their kind of mentality is, we spend within our means, we spend with the intention of making it back, not let's just throw tons of money at it and then panic when we can't make it back. It's just a lot more like, is the aim, it's a rational aim, we're going to hit it, and everyone's happy at the end of it.
Yeah, and in terms of bands like ours, it's the best way to do it, because it's just unsustainable the way that the major labels do their thing now. It's archaic, and it's not going to carry on working for much longer. There are wonderful people that work there. I'm not saying that there aren't passionate, driven people working in these labels, because there are some that aren't as well, obviously, but the system isn't suiting it to what's happening at the moment. So we're really pleased and proud to be on an independent label now. Yeah.
I think this is the first time I've been in a relationship on Valentine's Day in years and years.
What'd you give her, mate?
I gave her a £5 top.
It's a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah, but I painted it. No, it's just a little Star Wars top. Absolute piece of shit, to be honest. But I don't know. I don't think you should spend a lot of money on like I buy her shit all the time. Why should I spend more money on one day?
I just buy flowers every year. I think flowers are an absolute yes.
Yeah, because they're gonna die in like a week.
She loves flowers. People like females like receiving flowers. They're nice. They smell nice. It's like easy. I don't even have to like think.
Again, I think therein lies the issues. The thought is the thing that surely matters.
Yeah, flowers, man.
You've opened up a real can of worms there.
Flowers. Cool.
In fairness, I didn't. Yeah, flowers are nice. I have no issue with them. But in fairness, I didn't get anything for Daisy this year, so I feel a bit bad. But
yeah, I don't really believe in. I'm a bit of a Valentine Scrooge. I don't really believe in it at all, which is probably why my girlfriend broke up with me. But needless to say, I'm single this year.
Sweet.
I think we've always said, we even said at the end of the last album, we're not putting it under any pressure to like, we're not saying it needs to do this, this and that. The only thing that matters for us is that we can get out to, get out and play shows in Europe and the US, because that's regardless of whether the album does it for us, it's important for us to open up those markets and go and play to people who want to see us out there. The problem is that it's so expensive to do it. So kind of the aim for us is that the album does well enough for us to be able to actually afford to just go out there and tour. Like, it doesn't need to make a ton of money. It just needs to, open up the doors for us to just be able to go out and play to these people who want to see us.
And in terms of what's a success for this album, I think we've said it. I've said it in one interview before, and I think that I just really believe it now. That there was genuinely about 14 months where we didn't think we'd be able to record an album, let alone release an album, let alone tour an album. So regardless of commercial success, regardless of who comes to shows, which it turns out that people are, which is wicked, it's been a success already, because for a period of time, like, genuinely we couldn't even be in a room together and it not just be horrible and painful. So I think it's already been a success for me personally.
Because we can hang out like this.
Like dudes, like real dudes.